All right, everyone. Looks like we are live. Good afternoon to all of you. Anthony here, Puget Sound Stormwatch, back for another weekly or bi-weekly live discussion. Just in time for some more active weather to come in. A little bit more active than what we've been used to to kick off this year. It's not going to be as active as December by any means, but definitely some systems that are stronger than what we usually get that could be coming in. And even then, not by very much. So here's the next system coming in right now. See, some areas had a lot of clearing around the region, including down here in the South Sound. Had a pretty nice sunset outside. It was a good way to end the day. We have some convergence zone showers left over around parts of the North Sound right now, although this is quickly expected to die off tonight. And yeah, the leading edge of the next system is on our doorstep, just like that. Hang on just 1 second, guys. Gotta pin something for my shop real quick. Is it gonna be real quick? Let's see. Where's my design at? Nope, never mind. It's not going to show up. That's great. Hey there, Connor Neely. Good afternoon. Welcome to the stream. Good to have you on. Let's go ahead and tag the bottle. Perfect. For the YouTube stream, we now have a product placed in case you guys want to check out the Stormwatch store anytime in the future. Okay, without further ado, let's continue on, shall we? Let's go refresh the weather models real quick. The old reliable European 18Z is off the press. What does it say for tomorrow? Stormy says, hello from East Lewis County. Hello from Milton, North Pierce County up here. Neighbor to the north. Yeah, Anderson Island was having some coastal flooding. Expecting the same sort of threat tomorrow, too, in the morning time. Let me check again the time on that. I believe it's 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. for the Puget Sound, 7 to 11 a.m. for western Whatcom County, and noon to 4 p.m. for the coast of Grace Harbor County. But no alerts currently at this time for the North Coast or the Strait of Juan de Fuca area. Yeah, so the European shows the rain moving in early tomorrow morning before the sun comes up, and then likely to have widespread rain throughout most of the day. And then, just like that, the next system is immediately on its doorstep. This one could be interesting, though. This will bring in a pool of cool air, which could lead to some convergence zone snow showers for some of us. Wednesday night into Thursday morning, potentially. And then, the European has been kind of sniffing out this little atmospheric river style feature moving in by this next weekend. Although by the time it moves from Vancouver Island into our area, it's going to begin to dry out, which would be a saving grace to a lot of our rivers running off the Cascades and the Olympics, where there is a flood watch for Mason County for potential minor flooding along the Skokomish River near Potlatch coming up. We'll go over more on that in a moment here. Let's zoom in and go look at some expected wind gusts. Go through the day tomorrow. See, not too much. Find it interesting that they pulled the trigger on the wind advisory for just western Whatcom County and Island County. Very seldom do you see these two areas not quite next to each other get in the wind advisory, but areas in between don't. Like the San Juan Islands, for example, and western Skagit, northwestern Snohomish counties were omitted from this round, which I found kind of interesting, in my opinion. But European is showing wind advisory criteria, wind gusts potentially for Whidbey Island, at least central Whidbey Island, so Coupeville area, all the way down here. Could see some wind advisory level gusts in the 50-mile-per-hour range possible. But other than that, it's just going to be a normal breezy day likely for the rest of us. So it looks like between about 4 to 10 and 10 to 4 tomorrow. And see no more than 40 miles per hour for most of the region. Everett area, between Everett and Seattle, could get a little bit over 40, but other than that, even the foothills are looking pretty lackluster for wind gusts coming up. So that's for tomorrow's system. And the Wednesday system looks even less impressive. Like wind gusts possibly not getting above 30 miles per hour for most of us. So it won't be a huge deal for the wind on Wednesday, but westerly surge likely affecting parts of San Juan Islands. The San Juan County up here, parts of the eastern Strait of Juan de Fuca, and Whidbey Island potentially. But it's not looking like it's going to be sort of a wind advisory criteria event for those areas right now. So not a super strong westerly surge, but it could last some time behind that cold front once it moves in Wednesday night. And then some breezy winds also going into Thursday morning too, but again, nothing that we're not used to. And then after that, it's really just run-of-the-mill for the area. Could get some strong winds Saturday night, Sunday morning too over the northwest waters, but not looking like it'll be wind advisory criteria at this time. Hey there, Keith. Good evening, sir. And looking at precipitation type a little bit closer. Heavy mountain snow over the Olympics and the Cascades, and lowland rain throughout the day tomorrow. And the convergence zone likely sets up shop behind that, but not too much low-level cold air to work with at first by the looks of it. Wednesday's system could introduce enough cold air near the surface to possibly get some convergence zone showers between Everett and Bellingham. And we'll have to watch once the high-res models start getting into start getting in the range here. We'll have to watch. Some have shown, like some initial indications have shown, maybe even some parts of the South Sound could get cold enough too for some isolated snow. But the threat right now looks pretty conditional. See, and then this would be that next little atmospheric river feature coming through. But looks to be pretty short-lived and not as intense as what we saw during last month's atmospheric rivers. Let's go see right now if the experimental RRFS is in range. 18Z, I think, should be. Might just barely be in range. I wouldn't trust what this is saying 100%, but what this is showing is some heavier showers that could drag the snow level down towards near surface level, mainly between Everett and Bellingham. And then the potential for some heavier showers that could also drag the snow level down a little more. Yeah, mainly from Whidbey Island to Everett and all the way up into the foothills too. So I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe Wednesday night, Thursday morning, we get some flurries. Maybe even some isolated accumulations in some spots. But again, it's really going to depend on how heavy the showers are and how cold this air mass is coming in. You see, some of these showers are coming in pretty heavy here on the RRFS experimental for Wednesday afternoon. So we may have to watch some areas where flurries or some wet snow showers could form here in the Sound. But this is mostly going to be for the higher elevations, like the foothills and higher. So snow levels are probably going to be 500, 600 feet and up, most likely. But again, like we saw with the convergence zone right after Christmas, some of these areas, even parts of Everett, got some snow accumulation down near the surface with that strong convergence zone that formed over that short amount of time. And then 0Z HERS rendering right now. I don't really even want to bother with the NAM, honestly. Yeah, 0Z HERS kind of catching on to something Wednesday morning too. Again, it's something we're going to really just have to watch in real time as it happens, because the model agreement's not really there right now. The run-to-run agreement is kind of spotty, and we're not in full range yet for model run updates, like hourly model run updates. I probably won't be until Tuesday night. But see, as Tuesday night system comes through, you see this convergence zone develop over the Central Sound. It looks like Point's Gold Bar eastward could be heavy snow. But Gold Bar westward down into the Everett area is likely going to be in the form of rain. Go and check surface temperatures at this time. It's going to be pretty mild down here. But then a colder air mass begins to move in on Wednesday morning. Some areas are going to be sub-freezing after that. So if we can get enough of this sub-freezing low level temperature layer to exist over here at this time, and then some heavier showers to drag the snow level down even more, then we definitely could see some areas of isolated snow accumulations, even down towards sea level. But it appears to be, again, a very conditional threat. So confidence right now is low in that solution, but it's not zero. I guess we could look at wind during this time too. See what the HRR has to show for wind coming up. Yeah, HRR 3KM is a little bit stronger on wind, but it still pretty much agrees with what the Euro is showing to a degree. Shows the strongest winds mainly being over the water and some parts of the foothills, but these are going to be out of the south during this time. And so I'm not expecting anything major when it comes to wind for this event. It should just be your typical run-of-the-mill kind of breezy winter day. The wind should be pretty short-lived too, hopefully. But HRR 3KM does show these wind advisory level winds for Island County and Western Whatcom County. Wouldn't be surprised though to see possibly an expansion of this wind advisory tomorrow down in the Western Skagit County. But I'm not going to make any guarantees on that guesstimate. He shows a westerly surge feature up here as well after that, but not nearly as strong as what the Euro was showing. And then we're not quite in range of Wednesday's event yet on the HRR. Go check what the RRFS shows for wind while we're at it also. Again, an experimental model, but set to decommission the NAM and replace the NAM here sometime this year. So it does have some credibility to it. And the RRFS model is a little bit less on wind than the HRR is. See, it doesn't show a lot of areas getting above 40 miles per hour. Hit or miss, really. There's some areas over the water that could get over 40 miles per hour for wind gusts, with sustained winds 10 to 20 or 15 to 25 out of the south. But again, no big deal. And you see this sharp frontal cutoff feature coming up across the area too. That moves out of the area by tomorrow afternoon, and then we just have mainly breezy conditions. Then that westerly surge comes in later on at night. Interesting to see the westerly surge so later onset compared to when that front moves through. And interestingly enough, looks like some convective activity off the coast. What does the radar show for this? I guess it's something we'll have to watch Wednesday too, because Wednesday we do have an isolated thunderstorm risk around the area. Yeah, our RFS model is showing the chance for some thunderstorms for sure, mainly west of Olympia, but can't rule out the chance of maybe an isolated clap of thunder here over the Seattle-Tacoma metro area on Wednesday. But it mainly looks like it's going to stay west of Olympia. See, there's your front coming in tomorrow afternoon. So expect some heavy rain and maybe some gusty winds with that. But again, nothing super major looking likely. And then there's your convergence zone going off into the foothills and the Cascades tomorrow night. Then the next frontal system. There's no real well-defined frontal system on Wednesday on the RRFS. It's a little hard to tell where exactly the wind shift is, but I'd have to guess this is probably it right here. And then after that, we'll probably have a convergence zone form somewhere up here in North Snohomish, South Skagit counties, potentially. And then we bring in the cold air mass behind that, and that is what could bring some of those isolated flurries and snow showers for some of us. Again, mainly north of Everett by the looks of it right now. Hobby Farmer says, thank you for the weather update. Yes, thank you for becoming a member as well. Or either you became a member or you were gifted a membership. But either way, appreciate you for sticking along. And again, for any of you guys who were gifted memberships in the last month since we've had YouTube monetization, no pressure to renew. If you feel like it's not worth renewing, that's okay. I completely understand. See what it says for lightning flashes on the day Wednesday. Yeah, pretty good conditions for lightning flashes. This is showing lightning flash potential, with the blue being better than the black and the gray. Even Tuesday, the west and north end of the coverage area, your western Washington, definitely a chance for some lightning strikes. Again, this is an experimental model, so it's not going to be 100% set in stone, but the chance is definitely there for some isolated thunderstorms on Wednesday. That cold air aloft coming in is going to bring in quite a bit of instability with it. Maybe just enough to get a rumble of thunder, strong hail shower, maybe some lightning if you're lucky. Freezing levels. Yeah, we can check that real quick on weather.gov. Let's go to the Seattle forecast office. Again, here's an alert summary right now. Winter storm warnings for the Cascades, coastal flood advisories for the Puget Sound, Northwest Interior Waters, winter weather advisory for the Olympics, coastal flood advisory for the coast of Grays Harbor County, and a flood watch for minor flooding for the Skokomish River coming up. But you can look at local forecast graphics and go and look at our freezing levels real fast. Hang on just a moment here. Minimum freezing level, so 4 p.m. today to 4 p.m. tomorrow. Freezing levels for most of the areas are going to be above 2,500 feet. And then we start to bring that freezing level down. You notice this, hang on. You notice this lighter colored white contour begins to sink south a bit. This is some of the colder air making its way in behind that next system on Wednesday. So freezing levels dipping down to about 2,000 to 2,500 feet south of Everett, and then 1,500 to 2,000 feet north of Everett. See, and then we really start to bring the freezing levels down quite a bit going after that into Wednesday night, Thursday morning, where we get under 2,000 feet in a lot of spots. Some areas also around 1,500 or less too. So it's really, again, going to be conditional based on how strong these showers are. If you get a strong enough shower in the right place where the freezing level is low enough, you can drag that freezing level down quite a bit for a short amount of time, possibly enough to get some snow showers in some areas like Enumclaw, North Bend, Gold Bar perhaps, and even some points west if we get lucky. Sonia, hello, welcome in. And then the snow level begins to go up after that, and then they go way up. So we're up towards 6,000 to 7,000 feet for most of the Puget Sound area. And we're actually up over pass level after this. This is likely going to be around the time when that upper level ridge begins to set up. And that's really going to raise the snow levels above pass range. So not good for the passes looking a week ahead, but in the short term, the next 3 days or so, it's going to be really great conditions for getting snowfall along the passes. Driving over it, wouldn't recommend it, but yeah, you see the snow level as well. Oddly enough, snow level and freezing level are different. The snow levels are going to be lower than the freezing levels. I see in day 3 here, Wednesday 4 p.m. to Thursday 4 p.m. or under 1,000 feet for a lot of us. So This could be supportive of some low-level flurries or snow showers with any convergence bands or heavier showers that move in from Wednesday night through Thursday night. So just a heads up. So we're below 1,500 pretty much all of Western Washington, in exception for some areas close to the water and south of Olympia. But other than that, we're in a favorable position for some some lower snow levels in the day 3 outlook, which again is Wednesday night through Thursday night. And then we start to bring those snow levels way back up again as that warmer air mass comes in. Thursday fun, potentially. Still a lot of details that need to be ironed out, but it's too soon to make a definitive forecast on it. It's too soon for any confidence. Is Bonnie Lake going to get any snow? Like I said, too soon to speak for really any spot. I need better model agreement, and we need to get within the full range of every model, which we're not quite in it yet. But if you want to boost your confidence a little bit, some of the high-res models are showing some snow, mainly east of Tacoma here. So areas like Enumclaw included, and Highway 18 up to Tiger Mountain. You know, I don't have high confidence in this right now, but the chance is certainly there to get some flurries or some snow showers. Looks like Wednesday afternoon, even sometime Wednesday night too. And then Thursday would probably be the best confidence for areas Everett northward. Strong convergence zones likely to set up here, and that's going to drag the snow level down considerably if it holds at this strength. But not too much south of Everett with Wednesday night, Thursday morning system by the looks of it. Looks like it's mainly going to stay rain down here. But just something we'll have to watch closely as time goes on to see how things change. Right now, the best chance of seeing any lowland snow, and I mean anything, it could be anywhere. I'm not talking about a specific area, but I'm just talking about Western Washington in general, the lowlands of Western Washington. It's probably going to be Wednesday night, Thursday morning, with a chance of some Wednesday morning flurries for some areas. It's a chance. It's not a great chance, but it is a chance. Do I even dare want to check what the NAM's showing? NAM's even better. Wednesday at noon, the NAM's showing some snow showers over Tacoma all the way up through Seattle. But again, this model is going to be decommissioning sometime this year, so I wouldn't quite trust what this signal is showing right now. But just something to keep our eyes on as time goes on. Definitely the models are showing some snow showers Wednesday afternoon into Thursday morning for parts of our area, but they're inconsistent on exactly where and when these snow showers are going to be and if they even happen at all. Maybe a quick snow person, yeah. Would have to be quick, and the snow probably wouldn't be very much. Interestingly enough, if we look at the Kuchera ratio, it shows pretty close to an inch for the Tacoma area on the NAM. Again, I just don't know if I believe the validity of this forecast. The experimental RRFS model only shows around a quarter inch or less for that same area. But it does show more Everett North. Shows Everett getting between 1.5 and 2 inches in some areas, which would be pretty interesting if a decent convergence zone sets up there and we get some snow showers with that. The likelihood of that would be Wednesday night, Thursday morning also. Again, it's Wednesday night, Thursday morning here for the South Sound as well. And even some areas along the Hood Canal. So, again, not great confidence, but there is a shot. There is a shot, for sure. Usually the wind advisory for Whatcom and Island County comes from the Fraser River outflow. Not this time around. The NWS has it for southerly winds, not northeasterly. Again, this is what they're showing for tomorrow. They're showing around 40 to 45 right now. This is based on some of the NWS models that they use. Like the REFS, National Blend of Models, High Resolution Ensemble Forecast, for example. This is a culmination of those models. They kind of get an idea of what's going on here. So this is Monday tonight, 4 p.m. through tomorrow at 4 p.m. Interestingly enough, it doesn't show the strongest winds for Whidbey Island. But that could be in the next graphic, the day 2. Surprisingly not. So, a little bit of an interesting call there. But this is what the NWS again is showing for Western Washington here. So 40 to 45 off the western Strait of Juan de Fuca and the northern Pacific coast. Really strong along Hurricane Ridge here. And the strongest winds are likely going to be over the water. But don't be surprised if we get some gustier winds a little bit farther inland for areas like Tacoma, Seattle, Everett, and Kitsap County also. And then the confidence drops off for wind going into Wednesday too. Doesn't look too windy on Wednesday right now. But really after that, after tomorrow, there's really not much to talk about for wind products. Was there wind in Enumclaw? You had mentioned maybe a little bit of wet snow. Wind for Enumclaw is not going to be very strong. Again, the strongest winds are going to be closest to the water. The strongest southerly winds. These are showing wind gusts, but wind gusts over Enumclaw are probably going to be in the 30 to 35 range. And that's what the European model, the one that's favorable for wind, is showing also. Is the wind gusts are probably going to be far less the farther east you go. See, it's only showing 25 to 30 for North Bend, 30 to 35 for Enumclaw. So wind shouldn't be a big concern for Enumclaw coming up tomorrow. All right, where was I? Okay, yeah, let's go back to the Weather Forecast Office main site and go over some of these advisories right now. Let's go over the wind advisory and the coastal flood advisory here for Whatcom County. So again, that wind advisory goes into effect at 4 a.m. tomorrow and continues until noon tomorrow. South winds 20 to 30 miles per hour sustained with gusts 45 to 50 miles per hour expected. This is for island counties and lowlands of western Whatcom County, including areas such as Bellingham, Ferndale, and Blaine. Again, that's 4 a.m. to noon. This is for Island County, again, Whidbey Island, Camino Island, and western Whatcom County, including Bellingham. And then the coastal flood advisory. So there is a coastal flood advisory for the Puget Sound area between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. tomorrow. Minor coastal flooding expected. And this is offset by an hour for western Whatcom County. So western Whatcom County is going to be 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. instead of 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Again, only minor coastal flooding expected around 1.5 to 2 feet above ground level. And once more, minor coastal flooding due to tidal overflow is expected around high tide time. So just a word of caution if you're along the beach during that time. Could have some low-level coastal flooding up to about 2 feet above ground level, which doesn't sound like much. But anyone less than 2 feet above ground level will likely see some flooding up there. Then the winter storm warning for the Cascades. Again, this is from 4 a.m. tomorrow to 4 p.m. Thursday. Heavy snow between 2 to 4 feet for the Cascades. Winds gusting as high as 35 miles per hour also. So this includes Stevens Pass, Snoqualmie Pass, and White Pass. Again, 4 a.m. tomorrow to 4 p.m. Thursday. Heavy snow possible. Travel impacts also very likely during those days. The Mason County Flood Watch. Again, from tomorrow afternoon through late Wednesday night, flooding caused by excessive rainfall. Although it says it includes Shelton, this is specifically for the Skokomish River. But flood watches always include the particular county in which the river is situated in. So it may show a flood watch for Mason County, but it's more so just for the Skokomish near Potlatch. It says the forecast storm total precip is 1.5 to 2.5 inches for the Olympics on Tuesday, with snow levels fluctuating between 2,500 and 3,500 feet. So levels are currently elevated. The Skokomish is in action stage last time I checked and is expected to get around minor flood stage, if not a little over minor flood stage, by tomorrow afternoon and Wednesday morning. See, Keith says, so far Mount Baker has just over 9 feet of snow. I certainly believe it. Mount Baker's been getting pummeled by snow. Let's go snowpack. Yeah, but for how long? That's the question. How about Grace Harbor? Yeah, so no wind advisories for Grace Harbor, but there is this coastal flood advisory for you. And this is from noon tomorrow to 4 p.m. tomorrow. So the current coastal flood advisory expired at 3 p.m. this afternoon. That was in effect for this morning. Again, 2 to 2.5 feet above ground level, which is still considered minor, but a little bit higher than what we could see in the Puget Sound and Whatcom County. So noon to 4 p.m. And if you're talking about wind, and wind gusts are probably going to be in the 30 to 40 mile per hour range for the immediate Grace Harbor area. If you're talking about the immediate Grace Harbor area, like Westport, Ocean Shores, and Hoquiam, then about 30 to 40 mile per hour southerly gusts are expected. How about are the winds for Nanaimo? Great question. Let's go see what the Euro has to show, the 18Z Euro. For wind gusts coming up. It's not going to be terrible. There should be no impactful winds for your general area. Strongest winds are going to be to your southeast. For the Nanaimo Ladysmith area, it's going to be mainly over the open waters. So, unusually in this case, like unusual enough, we only have the wind advisory for western Whatcom and Island counties, but nowhere in between. So that just shows that the confidence for wind making its way up the Strait of Georgia is much less this time around. You may notice it get breezy, but I'm not seeing any major impacts for your general area. If we zoom out to show Vancouver Island in its entirety, Nanaimo's right up here. Again, it doesn't show it getting much over 30 miles per hour up there. Their peak time for wind around Skagit County. A little bit hard to tell right now, but it's looking like I'm going to say tomorrow morning by 10 a.m. So the Euro shows it in 6-hour increments, right? And I'm just so kind of turned off by the high resolution models right now that I really don't even want to show them. But we can get a prediction, and looks like the 0Z data for the HERS coming in too. So we can get just a general idea of what's going on. Now you see it shows 47 up there, but I think this model's overdoing it. This is again for tomorrow at 10 a.m. during that time frame. And it shows some wind gusts getting close to 50 down here in Tacoma too, but I think this is overdoing it by 5 to 10 miles per hour, personally. If we really take in any biases that are normal for the high-res models, like usually the HER and the NAM both overdo these quite a bit, but not all the time. What about the tides? Not expecting any major tidal flooding. We do have the coastal flood advisory up there in western Whatcom County from 7 a.m. to 11. So that would probably be your best shot for getting any high tides up there, any tidal overflow. But it's only going to be around 1.5 to 2 feet above normal level for you. So Not expecting any major tidal overflow or any crazy high tides for eastern Vancouver Island. Yeah, sure thing. Chad says, thanks for your coverage. Absolutely. What do you think about Snoqualmie Valley weather? Before I answer that, time for a water break. We have quite a few of you guys jumping on today. We have 30 viewers at the moment on YouTube. Haven't checked Facebook in a while. All right, good. Lots of reactions. Thank you guys for tuning in. Glad to see a lot of familiar faces tonight. Yeah, I think we can shave 5 miles per hour off of these totals, and that'll probably be a bit more accurate than what the HER model's showing here. Again, there's always the shot that the winds could be stronger than what this is showing, but based on the Christmas Eve forecast, you know that isn't always the case. I don't know. Should we show what the NAM's showing? Just for giggles? And the NAM's a bit more modest. It doesn't show the winds as strong as the HER, which is rare. You don't usually see the NAM downplay the winds compared to what the HER is showing. Again, the RRFS, which is set to replace the NAM, shaves a good 10 miles per hour off of a lot of those wind totals for down in this area. All the high-res models do show Tacoma getting up to 40 miles per hour tomorrow morning, though, around the same time. Hey there, Doppler Dave 211. You're not missing very much. We're just talking about the wind forecast and just a summary of all the alerts in effect right now. Coastal flood alerts, wind alerts, and river flood alerts for the Skokomish. But you haven't missed very much. We're just going over sort of a briefing on what exactly we're likely going to see coming up. And I also talked about the chance of some lowland snow, but very conditional and marginal threat at best. Not going to be a widespread snow event. A lot of people are going to get nothing. Either going to get nothing or rain. But there are some areas where you could potentially get some lowland snow for a very brief period. Just depends on the timing of the heaviest showers and the coldest air mass over the area. So it's looking like prime time right now is going to be Wednesday afternoon through Thursday morning. You see, we do bring these heavier showers in. This is probably our cold front that's going to usher in the cooler air mass. We can zoom out a little bit and go look a little bit higher in the atmosphere to see what we're talking about here. Let's go look at temperatures at about 5,000 feet. Let's see, this is our cold front. Looks like Tuesday night. Maybe this wasn't the best model to choose. Let's see what the HER shows. The HER should be a little bit easier on the eyes. Yeah, so the blues are below normal. Not below normal. What am I saying? Okay. The the blues are below 0 degrees Celsius, so freezing at 5,000 feet, and you usually want these to be around -5 to -6 degrees Celsius for the Puget Sound to have the best chance of getting snow. Then the greens and yellows are above freezing. So you see, as we go into the morning time Wednesday, we're right on the cusp of having some cold air aloft. Like some really cold air aloft. Maybe just enough for a isolated conditional round of snow for some areas. Wednesday afternoon going into Wednesday night and Thursday morning. But it's going to come up to real-time forecasts for sure. What about the valley? Water break distracted you from Snoqualmie Valley. Well, hang on a second. Are you talking about wind, rain, or snow in general? Because if you're talking about wind, it's not looking too impressive for the Snoqualmie Valley. See, even the HER model, which kind of tends to overdo these wind events to an extent. Yeah, it does have 50, but I think you can shave 10 miles per hour off, and this will probably be more accurate. I think the HER's overdoing wind for the Snoqualmie Valley, but it shows still around 35 to 40 miles per hour. Excuse me, out of the south. And then when it comes to rainfall, this goes out to 42 hours. Does have some heavy precip along the I-90 Snoqualmie Valley corridor east of Issaquah. Not too much west and north of there, though. Bit of a rain shadow setting up for your area. Wind mainly, okay. Yeah, so wind doesn't look like a huge concern. Do be advised, it'll probably get a bit breezy throughout the day tomorrow. Mostly late morning, early afternoon. But I'm not expecting any major winds for your area. The biggest winds, even though they're not really huge, still going to be larger than the rest of the area, are likely going to be over the open waters. And maybe some areas directly surrounding the water. Possibly as far east as the I-405 corridor. And if we go look at the European for this time tomorrow. Again, the European, although it's lower resolution, usually gets a better grasp on things across much of the area. So, see, for the Snoqualmie Valley, it's showing about 35 to 40 mile per hour gusts. Sustained winds at this time would be around 10 to 20 realistically. And see, out of the south too. So yeah, this is a knots, and this is right around 15 miles per hour. So about 15 mile per hour southerly sustained winds with some isolated gusts of 35 to 40 being in the vicinity. Tacoma area, along the water, probably going to get the stronger winds. But right now, for the general Tacoma vicinity, it's capping off right around 40 miles per hour. This would be between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. tomorrow. Again, I think the high-resolution rapid refresh is overdoing it a bit, but still showing the potential for some 40 to 45 mile per hour southerly gusts in the Tacoma area. In the Seattle area too, but you notice how most of the red is directly over the water. So you may get some wind affecting some of the I-5 corridor here, but strongest wind again should be mainly north and west of the Tacoma. Later tomorrow morning and early tomorrow afternoon. Why does the European forecast have 10 centimeters of snow in Ladysmith? See, that's a little under 4 inches. So, it could just be the fact that it's a lower resolution model and it's trying to blend the mountains of Vancouver Island and the lowlands of Vancouver Island, like it usually does for Western Washington. Typically blends the lowlands and the mountains of Western Washington together, so it doesn't quite have a good idea of what exactly is going on across a given terrain area. You know, it doesn't have that much terrain exaggeration, so it's likely just due to a model resolution error. Any wind tonight? Let's see, we're at around 6 p.m. No, not that I can see. It does have the wind picking up sharply. So you can start to see this cold front move in right there later in the morning tomorrow. That's when we're going to have the strongest winds. And then we're going to switch out of the west. And then we're going to get lower to moderate and westerly surge for some areas. Again, mainly south of the San Juan Islands, north of the Strait of Juan de Fuca, the coast of the Strait of Juan de Fuca, and west of Whidbey Island. It shows all of it being rather short-lived. And you can take 5 to 10 miles per hour off of this estimation based on some biases from the HER model, the HRRR. This is one of those ones that overdid the wind gusts on Christmas Eve for a while. It doesn't mean it'll always overdo, though. You know, this is why it's always a wise idea to pay attention to each individual model run over time. And I wasn't even on the correct model run either. You see, the 0Z bumped it up from the 18Z quite a bit. But I think the 18Z is probably going to be a little bit more accurate in this case. See, it has 37 for Seattle, 38 for Tacoma. The 0Z bumps it up to 42 for Seattle, 48 for Tacoma. I believe this might be overplaying it. I have a hunch that the wind gusts are likely not going to be this strong. Yeah, it is a beautiful night out. Was lucky to get the sun beaming in my window for the sunset tonight before I began streaming. Yeah, it's a really great night out. You know, you may even be able to see the stars if you don't have too much light pollution. There's a few high clouds around the area right now, so seeing the stars probably going to be a little bit difficult, but not impossible for most of us. But this is the leading edge of the next frontal system coming in, as seen here. Just like that. And somewhere back here, there's another frontal system that's going to impact us the next day, Wednesday. So it's going to be a 1-2 punch, with the second one not being really much of a punch. It's just going to be like a little love tap. Tomorrow's the one that's likely going to bring the punch for the waters, mainly. This is a strong cold front. This is more of a moderate cold front. It's not super strong. This is normally something we see multiple times a year. So no, it's not a super strong cold front. A strong cold front would bring wind gusts 50 miles per hour or greater to much of western Washington, which this one does not appear to be or is expected to usher in. Yeah, if you were thinking about going to the Space Needle for New Year's Day, for the New Year celebration, you made a good call to stay home. It definitely looked less than impressive from the videos I was looking at. Just checking my TikTok real quick. Outside of my first 3 days on TikTok, it's gone pretty much dead. Even though I've been posting consistently, apparently I've heard other TikTokers are having issues with the algorithm being a little bit out of date. A lot of people seeing TikToks from like 3 to 4 weeks back and not the current one. So it could be an issue with the algorithm, and I'm kind of stuck in what they call the 200 view jail right now, where most of my TikTok updates don't get any more than 200 views. I'm really trying to go hard on TikTok coming up. You know, just because it's by far like the #1 entertainment and information app out there. Although there is some misinformation being passed around. So I'm making it my duty to post the most up-to-date, accurate information I can on TikTok and other sources as well. Yeah, I heard that they canceled the drone show too. That was a good call. Unfortunate for people who, you know, flew out from around the country to see that and they got fogged in. You know, it is what it is, sadly. And Matt says, come on summertime. Yeah, come on summertime for sure. At least come on springtime. Can't wait to see what spring holds for the area. He says he wrote a blog on fronts. I will check that out. Yeah, more and more sunlight every day. We're adding a few minutes at a time. Slowly, up until the summer solstice, we're gaining sunlight. A few minutes a day on average. Yeah, it's almost there, folks. Almost summertime. I just hope Puget Sound Stormwatch can stay full-time through then. Because right now, things aren't looking too great. Unfortunately. I hope we can get some of these issues sorted out going into the springtime. Because, we did have a successful December, which means January shouldn't have really any huge financial hassle. But after that, it gets extremely uncertain. So I'm just playing it carefully right now. Okay, 0Z NAM's rendering. And the 0Z RRFS experimental should be right behind it. Again, some leftover convergent showers in the North Sound, but the next system's on the way. Moving on to the coast right at this moment. Yeah, like Sonia said, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button on YouTube and ring that bell for future events also. Share with everyone on your social media, exactly like she said. And that reminds me, I keep forgetting to share the live link on my X and Blue Sky. Guess I should get to that, shouldn't I? Get on that before I forget. Okay, there we go. We got it. Hey there, Brady G111. Hello, welcome in, sir. Oh, that was good. So yeah, again, this is the current wind gust forecast between 4 p.m. today, 4 p.m. tomorrow. So during the duration of tomorrow's frontal system passage. And the NWS is going with 40 to 45 for much of the greater Puget Sound area. So a little bit on the higher side of things. I'd say realistically, we're expecting probably 35 to 40 for much of the area. These are max wind gusts, and these are all going to be out of the south. So out of the usual wind direction that most of us are accustomed to. The max marine wind gusts, so you're going to be 40 to 45 for much of the area too. It's even showing a shot of 45 to 50 here, north of Bainbridge Island, between Shoreline and Bainbridge. Brady, I'm doing all right. I got a haircut today. I went to go stop by my mom's house. She's getting prepped for a procedure tomorrow. She's having some issues with her stomach and her digestive system, so she's getting a camera put down her throat tomorrow. And really anxious to hear back about the news because, my mom's been having a lot of these health issues flare up the last couple of years or so, and definitely of huge concern to me. I'm paying close attention to what the results of that are going to be because if it comes back negative, then I don't know what I would do, honestly. Again, really, we only have to worry about the winds tomorrow, and even then, not too much to worry about. This is something we're used to for this time of year. So nothing out of the ordinary there. Go look at the ensembles for wind gusts tomorrow. This is showing percentiles. So not too much spread, which is a good thing to see on here. So overall, the agreement between the 10th percentile on the left and the 90th percentile on the right is pretty close. Closer than we've seen recently. A little bit of a higher spread for Everett, where the average is around 33 miles per hour. But Seattle, the average is 36. And Tacoma, the average is right around 41. So again, the numbers on the left of the line are most likely to happen, 90% likelihood, and the numbers on the right are least likely, 10%. My haircut right before Christmas, and she cut it way too short. Sorry to hear about that, but means you can take a little more time before thinking about going back. Yeah, hopefully everything's okay with my mom too. Yes, agree with that. Like Roadster Jim says, the hair will grow back. Just got to give it time and have a little patience. It'll come back. Let's see. Less wind likely going into Wednesday afternoon and Thursday morning. We're looking more at cold air on Wednesday and Thursday than wind. It's not going to be much of a rainmaker either, but be watching for the potential for some isolated snow flurries. We go look at average snowfall for the 10-to-1 ratio. Again, this is likely due to the lack of terrain exaggeration due to lower resolution. So that does not mean the average is going to be 1.9 inches for Everett and 1.3 inches for Seattle. Okay, that's likely due to, again, model resolution error. So take that with a grain of salt. I'd be more so inclined to believe the snow depth averages, which is around 0.1 to 0.2 inches for this area. This could possibly happen if we get showers in a convergence zone to set up in the right area at the right time. Again, it's going to be a pretty marginal threat. Likelihood is low, but not zero. And the European AI forecast is even worse. Even worse resolution. Yeah, the next 0Z NAM's not quite in range yet of that. Not quite. Oh, man. Oh, jeez Louise. All right, folks. Come on, Nam. Load a little faster for me. I think judging by the trend on the euro, the NAM's probably going to downtrend too going into the morning time. All right, guys, going to take a water break and play an ad real quick. So be right back. Go check the trends so far. Holding pretty steady right now. And I'm not going to post this model run on the main page just because of its lack of credibility with the Christmas Eve forecast. I pretty much lost all faith in the NAM. I just want to see how it compares to its to the HER and its replacement, the RRFS. So far, the run-to-run consistency is doing pretty all right. No wild fluctuations at the moment. Be pretty steady the last 3 runs, which is good. You want to see this. Especially within, like, 18 hours now of an event. That doesn't mean I've gained any more faith in this model. Yeah. NAM showing 41 mile per hour gusts for the Tacoma area by 10 a.m. 39 for Seattle, 38 for Everett, 41 for the general Mount Vernon area. And upwards of 40 to 45 for Whidbey Island, Camano Island, and parts of Bellingham as well. Now, I want to check again the model-to-model consistency on the timing of this. It's about plus or minus 1 hour between the HER and the NAM. So we can estimate that the front's likely going to move through sometime after noon, like at noon or afternoon, for the Puget Sound area. And the front's passing overhead like right at 1 p.m. on the HER. All right, 6 o'clock now. And the NAM just paused at 19 frames. Perfect. Go refresh comments, make sure I'm not missing anything. All looks well right now. That's good. Perfect. Exactly what I want to see. All right, hunky dory. Okay, hour 20 and 21. Okay, so yeah, I think the NAM's overdoing it by 5 to 10 miles per hour. But the timing is within about an hour of the HER, so timing is pretty much nailed on this front tomorrow. Should be around noon, plus or minus 2 hours, when this front should move through. And that's going to be around the time we get peak wind gusts around the area. Again, they're going to be out of the south. Out of the south, ahead of the front, and then out of the west behind it. Will Coupeville get snow on Thursday or Wednesday? Too soon to tell. Right now, it's looking like it's mainly going to be east or south of Coupeville. But not seeing any good indications of snow for Coupeville coming up. Especially since you're right over the water, too. Your temperature is probably going to be a little too mild. The better chance of snow is going to be the farther east away from the water you are, ideally. So foothill locations are going to be the best. Outside of the mountains, the immediate foothills, like Enumclaw eastward. So Enumclaw, North Bend, Gold Bar eastward up the hills. Probably going to have the best shot of seeing any isolated flurries or snow showers coming up Wednesday or Thursday. But that doesn't mean it's an impossible risk. It's far from zero, but it's far from being a reality. Exactly, like Keith said, it's mainly the convergence zone. That is true. So let's go. Okay, after that front passes through, I'm eyeballing this area down here. Although I don't really trust the NAM, it's been kind of latching onto this solution. See, the run-to-run changes are pretty drastic too, which lowers my confidence on this actually happening. But there's definitely a shot to see some snowflakes. See, this is the convergence zone Wednesday night. And it looks like the best chance of snow in the convergence is going to be about Gold Bar eastward, as of right now. But just, will this occur at 1 p.m. on Wednesday? That is the question. I don't think it will. I think the NAM's going to lose out on this one too, but I'm not going to say that there's zero probability. That would be extremely irresponsible to say it won't happen. There's always a chance of it happening. A snow for some of the I-5 corridor south of Olympia. But if we can get a strong enough shower like a convergence zone to drag the snow level down, we can definitely get some flurries, even some isolated accumulations down here near sea level. Wednesday afternoon going into Thursday morning. It's again non-zero, but still not super likely. See, this would be like the Granite Falls area eastward along that convergence zone. 4 p.m. Wednesday, which is as far as the HRRR goes out right now. That would show some pretty good snowfall rates up in the foothills of Snohomish County. The areas like Darrington would get some snow in this situation as well. But the rest of us would be scattered rain and maybe some hit or miss snow showers here and there. And again, even a chance of some thunder on Wednesday too. This area is highlighted, and let's go to the forecast menu so I can show you guys real quick. Go to the SPC outlooks and go to day 3. Day 3 does have some of our area in the potential for some thunderstorms. See this, if you expand this 25 miles out, this includes pretty much all of the Seattle metro area. This is a general risk of non-severe thunderstorms. Keith says it would be a rain-snow mix. Potentially, it could also be a mix of snow and sleet as well. You know, it just seems like conditions are going to be pretty marginal. But yeah, most areas at the best would be a rain-snow mix. But if we can get a strong enough convergence zone or a strong enough shower to really tap into this area of cool air just a few thousand feet above the ground, I do believe we could drag the snow level down temporarily and get some snow in very hit or miss parts of the sound. Definitely a little nervous to make this forecast coming up too. For sure, I would I would be lying to you guys if I didn't say I wasn't a little nervous on this. Yeah, again, day 3. Definitely a chance of some storms. The models have been showing it. The year, okay, this is a GFS. Yeah, I don't really trust the GFS. I trust the Euro more. Yeah, see, the Euro in the morning time Thursdays, picking up some snow, even some freezing rain. I don't think we're going to get freezing rain. I think it's either going to be rain or snow or a mix of both. And most likely not going to mix at this time down here. Unless the Euro's onto something, this is likely a resolution issue, with the Euro being much lower resolution than the high-res models. So just a heads up, I don't quite trust this signal of seeing a rain-snow mix down here. At least not yet. We need to see another couple of runs on the Euro to really lock this in. The 12Z is pretty interesting. 12Z Euro would have some snow and a mix up from I-90 from 405 eastward. And even a rain-snow mix from Everett all the way up into Whatcom County too. Between 4 and 10 p.m. on Wednesday night. But not quite the same solution here. So the run-to-run agreement still is not quite there. Not to where I would really be confident enough to make a snow post and have it verify. But yeah, communicating this is going to be fairly interesting. I'm going to have to say, like with the winds recently, okay, this isn't a confident forecast, but it is a potential. So just don't come from my head if I'm wrong on this, pretty much, is what I'm going to say. It would be so nice if the European Center of Medium Range Forecast came out with a high-res model, like a super high-res model, kind of like the Canadian has. Not often I look at the Canadian too, but let's give the Canadian a look. Canadian has a big convergence zone extending all the way up into Chelan County, across Snohomish County. This is only a 48-hour model run, so it doesn't go out to the full extent, so we can't quite see this in detail quite yet. It does really clearly show this front coming in on Wednesday, late Wednesday morning. Just something of interest. Let's check out the Canadian deterministic. Yeah, the Canadian deterministic's not fooled. It doesn't have any snow for the lowlands. It is picking up on this atmospheric river like the Euro is, though, this weekend. But it's going to be pretty transient. So by the time it moves in, it's going to be weakening and drying out. And it's going to move out rather fast, too. So no real major flooding concerns with this. And that's great news, too. All right. I guess we'll mess around and see what the GFS is showing. Does the GFS show the same thing? And the GFS is one of the lower resolution models, like one of the lowest resolution. So I don't believe a single thing this says. Talking rain tonight. Most of the precip has dried out tonight ahead of this next frontal system. The precip begins tomorrow morning again. So see, we have some of these convergence showers hanging around Snohomish County, but things are going to dry out, and then starting around midnight tonight, we're going to have some rain begin to seep into the northwest interior and along the coast ahead of this next front. Then by about, I'd say, 5 or 6 a.m., we're going to be socked in with rain once this front moves in. And it's going to be pretty steady rain for a few hours after that. See, and then by the time we get to about, let's predict here, by the time we get to about probably 5 or 6 p.m. tomorrow night, the back end of that front moves through, and then we get this convergence zone that begins forming. It's going to be in the form of heavy mountain snow over the higher elevations. And then it's really just hit or miss showers and that convergence zone Tuesday night as well. But a little bit of temporary relief before that next system comes through, that next front, which is right here by the looks of it. And we'll have to watch that one closely to see just how much cold air comes behind it, or where exactly these heavier showers set up. Because those heavier showers could yield a conditional snow threat for some very hit or miss areas. It's not super widespread again. I gotta make that clear. Confidence is very low right now. Extremely low. I think making a post on it right now would be unwise, to say the least. But to each his own. And of course, chance of convective activity, aka thunderstorms, on Wednesday. That'll help enhance the snow risk for some areas too. But right now, it looks like the best chance of any wintry mix or precipitation of the winter variety is going to be north of Everett on Wednesday morning, afternoon, and Thursday morning. Oh boy. These folks. Been a long day without it actually being a long day. But yeah, guys, think now is the perfect time for a quick little segue into the area to help donate for Puget Sound Stormwatch if you guys are interested. And I'll leave the link for this in the description, but also for any of you new viewers, the link is also down in the lower right corner of the stream, ko-fi.com/Puget Sound Stormwatch. And I have a new animation that plays when you guys donate too, which is pretty cool. It'll also show a notification when you donate here on YouTube, which is also pretty cool too. If you guys would like to do so, this is to help Puget Sound Stormwatch stay at full-time capacity. Which right now it's looking like we probably have 1 or 2 months left before I have to step down from doing this full-time, unfortunately. But sadly, sometimes you got to say it is what it is. Just playing it safe in case any new expenses come up. You know, and of course, also paying attention to my mom's health too. So I gotta take all of these factors into account for the long term. Issaquah. If you're talking snow for Issaquah, it's unlikely. But the high resolution models are picking up on some isolated snow, even for Issaquah, early in the morning on Wednesday. So just a heads up, it likely won't happen, but it could. And if we're talking wind for the area, again, the main focus for wind is going to be tomorrow. But wind for the area, I could easily shave 10 miles per hour off of this and call it good. So it's probably only going to be around 30 to 35 miles per hour for wind gusts out of the south for Issaquah tomorrow. And it's looking like mainly late morning, early afternoon. So probably between 10 and 12 realistically for the Issaquah area. Ooh. Arm almost slipped there. Whoops. And I have a hunch that I think the Her's overdoing the wind quite a bit. But only time will tell with real-time observations. I'll be watching the observation stations like a hawk tomorrow afternoon to see what happens and when, and I'll hopefully get those updates out to you guys in a timely manner. You know, I'm trying to figure out how to balance all of these new social media accounts. So, like, I started posting full-time weather under the Puget Sound Stormwatch name on X/Twitter. I also fired up Instagram and I fired up TikTok. TikTok I've been on for about 2 weeks at Puget Sound Stormwatch, and Instagram I've been on since New Year's Day. Fired that up 5 days ago, and it's kind of in the experimental phase. Thought it would be easier to cross-post between Facebook and Instagram considering they're linked, but it's not really working out smoothly to start out. At least not yet. One of my posts I was able to cross-post, but the rest of them not happening right now. Oh boy. I think it's going to be an early night tonight, folks. That's what it's looking like right now. Yeah, that would be a pretty rainy front coming in tomorrow afternoon. And then a pretty strong convergence zone right behind it. It's going to be front and then convergence zone a couple hours later. And then we'll be watching for some areas of stronger showers possible going into Wednesday morning. I have a thunderstorm potential mainly west of I-5, but some areas along I-5 do have a chance of seeing some thunderstorms going into Wednesday. So just a heads up. And the HER usually overdoes the reflectivity quite a bit. So likely the showers aren't going to be as strong as you see here. Just a heads up that the potential is there. Any wind coming for Enumclaw Buckley this week, that will be a problem. Not that I can see. Right now, here's the current outlook for winds around the area. This is for tomorrow. So 4 p.m. today through 4 p.m. tomorrow. See, Enumclaw down here only has 30 to 35 mile per hour gusts. So I'm not seeing any major concerns for wind coming up. So still unchanged from the last few days, which is good. Showing consistency between each and every model run, which you want to see, realistically. But yeah, I'm not seeing any major wind concerns tomorrow. There's some areas, especially north and west of Everett, that could get pretty gusty. And you may even crack out a 40 plus mile per hour gust in areas like Tacoma and Seattle, mainly along the water, but I'm not seeing any big wind threat inland right now. Doesn't look significant to really any, any extent. Yeah, let's check what the NAM's showing. The NAM usually does a better job showing precip than the HER does. So the NAM shows this front coming in a little bit later than the HER does. Around 3 p.m. compared to 12 p.m. A recent run. For out to 1 p.m. Wednesday and It's showing some pretty good cells over the Olympic Peninsula, west of I-5 over there. But yeah, it shows this next front becoming a little bit sloppy and then moving through sometime around 11 a.m. or noon on Wednesday. So it's going to be a quick little 1-2 hit. Not going to say a punch because the second front's not going to pack that much of a punch. We bring some pretty nice cells to the Oregon coast, maybe Pacific County. There's a shot to get some hail showers down here in the Sound too. You know, normally when we get cold air aloft behind a front like this during this time of the year, it's not unheard of to get some small hail showers or even a clap of thunder around these parts. You know, it really just depends on where the convection fires up and how strong it's going to be. Adam Fair says, that's good to hear the winds won't be too bad. Yeah, it's not going to be anything like we saw the week before Christmas. It shouldn't be even close. Yeah, Keith says spotty showers. Some of which could be stronger, though. We're kind of eyeballing this for Wednesday afternoon. Wednesday afternoon could feature some stronger showers capable of producing small hail and maybe some thunder here and there. The differences from the Her and the Nam are quite considerable, too. There's some model disagreement on exactly how strong the showers are going to be and where and when. You guys can see the Her paints in a lot more shower activity over this area, but it usually overdoes this. I'm kind of siding with the Nam on this one. I think the Nam's going to be more efficient on showing where and when these showers will form and just how strong. That's just my personal hunch right now. I will be watching the skies for those PM storms on Wednesday. Thanks for the heads up. Yeah, it's going to be our best chance for the next week. Maybe even the rest of this month, depending on how this ridge sets up shop over this area. So if we go back and look at the upper air patterns, it's still showing this ridging forming later on in the period. But I guess not as strong as the previous models were showing. Yeah, that's about a moderate sized ridge, but it's pretty far east. It's enough to definitely let some systems in. See, like this nice little shortwave trough here would bring a little low pressure system into Oregon. But then it has the mega ridge setting up shop directly over us right after that. But it keeps wanting to retrograde it off to the south and then introduce these systems from the north. And then it sets up the ridge to the west. This could be pretty interesting here. Let's zoom out a little bit. I want to show you guys this in full context here. Yeah, like Dirk Doppler says, 354 shopping days till Christmas. This would be a very interesting placement for a big ridge. Because if this were a bit farther west, we could have a chance to introduce some Arctic air into our region about halfway through this month. So you just look at that. And that, see, that would be Arctic air right there. And we're in fantasy land, but that's a really nice signal for introducing some colder air into the area. Yeah, if we zoom back in on the area, the regional sector here. See, temperatures at 5,000 feet are pretty cold over the area. This is really within snow threshold, but do we have the moisture? It probably doesn't look like we'll have the moisture, but we may have enough of the Arctic blast to get some cooler temperatures in here. Again, it's probably going to be pretty moisture starved around this time. See, we're going to be pretty moisture starved, unfortunately, by the looks of it. It does have this little freezing rain shower over western King County, but that's not going to happen because we're 15 days out. But again, really after this Wednesday and Thursday, the snow signal goes down in this run of the European. Really afraid we're not going to get snow in the lowlands. Yeah, that's a pretty good bet, honestly. Hoping by the 23 it calms down, by the 23rd. Kim says not Arctic air. Let's check out surface temperature anomalies the next 12 days. For the most part, we're going to be at or above average. But then we start to bring this colder air in. So we get a little more confidence after the swing of the halfway point of this month. We start to bring in some colder air down near the surface. But we're probably not going to get a system to line up with this to bring in any good snow chances. That's just the struggle again of being in the Pacific Northwest. Especially the west side of the mountains against the very mild Pacific Ocean. You can get the cold air out of Canada, but you don't always get the moisture in off the ocean, and you don't get them to line up all the time. That's why the snow is just so rare around here. Significant snow. You get the conditional isolated snow threat more frequently than you do get the widespread like snowmageddon events that we don't often get, like a once in a 5-year event. February for maybe some snow, but Scott Sistek is even on the fence about that. Yeah, it's too soon to go into January, or February, pardon me. Let's check the weeklies again. The long-range model runs, the new updates. Let's check snowfall rate. It's not looking good for snow, even for the mountains going into the first 2 weeks of February here. It's just not a great signal. This is not what you want to see. You want to see dark blue, purple, and white, but you don't want to see orange and red. Not this white either. Ooh, that's a horrid signal from the 11th to the 18th of January. Absolutely atrocious snow signal for the higher elevations. Why are they saying an El Nino is coming soon? Well, the ENSO forecasts have been leaning more towards either a higher end neutral or a lower end El Nino pattern going into the end of this year. So definitely a possibility of an El Nino coming up, which would be normally warmer and wetter than average conditions up here in the Pacific Northwest. Yeah, like Keith said, the long range doesn't look good. It looks abysmal, if anything. Still have 30 people watching. Pretty cool. Thank you guys for staying tuned in. Let's go look at surface temp anomalies coming up. Like right around average for this time of the year, which is mild. And you want to see the darker blues in this area for the better chance of snow. But it's not really there. The weeklies show that huge ridge blocking the weather pattern over our area the second and third week of January. Then after that, it seems like it's kind of a toss-up. Like leaning towards lower and higher than average heights, but that's really about it. So nothing really impressive showing up on that run. But yeah, pretty much all of the models are showing this ridge form, and that, again, would be terrible for a mountain snowpack. This is a GFS show for this. The GFS swings that system through on Wednesday, and then it too has the ridge forming. And then it swings a series of shortwave troughs in on Sunday. But it too does show that mega ridge forming over our area. Sometime around the 12th to the 13th and lasting. Yeah. It lasts a few days and then it begins to retrograde off to the west. And by the end of the GFS run here on the 21st, it starts to be on the east side of this ridge, which you would want to see for better snowfall chances. Not only in the higher elevations, but also the lowlands too. See, just look at that ridge. Like, over 40 decameters above average heights over Alaska. That would be a big snow melter up there. That is a monster ridge signal up there in Alaska. We need this to be a bit farther to the west to really threaten the intrusion of this cold air down near the surface. Just looks like we're kind of just on the fence of this right now. Yeah, that wouldn't be too much of a system. That would be the low pressure system near the surface associated with that upper level trough. So it really wouldn't be anything to stress over at all. Brad's asking, how are reservoirs looking? Are they holding on to as much water as they can if this does end up being a bad snow year? Reservoirs are doing better from what I've seen. I got to remember to link to this site that Keith showed me. Okay, yeah, Keith's on it. Snowpacks between 43 and 101%. Yeah, I can't remember. I'll have to go back to my history a bit. Can't remember exactly where that site was that I was looking at on the last stream. Having a really hard time recalling this. Frustrating. Bet if I dig through my history, I can find it. That is unless Keith. Yep, Keith beat me with the link. Keith's on it again. There we go. Thanks, Keith. Gonna make sure I'm on the right parameter here. Okay, there we go. I think this is the one here. Yeah, he's right. Between 43 and 101 here in the Cascades. And this is snow water equivalent as of January 4th, 2026, end of the day. And this is based on the 1991 to 2020 median index. So between that time, the Olympics right around 50%, Central Cascades are around 50%, Southern Cascades 43 to 45, and the North Cascades are 101%. So we still have quite a bit of work to do here in the Central and Southern Cascades when it comes to snow water equivalent. Us amateur weather nuts help each other out. Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of us here in the Pacific Northwest. How cold would this be for us? Not super cold. It would probably be in the low 40s, upper 30s. Maybe even the mid 30s for some of us. But it would be colder the farther away from the water you are and the higher your elevation is. So Enumclaw, I couldn't count out some freezing days here and there if that solution were to come into fruition. But again, we're pretty far out in the extended right now, so that signal is definitely going to change. So just take it with a grain of salt right now. Just honestly, even forget I even showed that to you guys. It's too marginal at the moment. We need better agreement between all the models to have higher confidence in this. See what its AI counterpart shows. The AI shows a pretty decent signal coming up around the January 20th time frame too. Yeah, that's not too shabby. It's like right on the fence, but not too shabby either way. It's just this is where having pivotal weather over Weather Bell kind of kills me. Because Weather Bell has so many more tools to use, such as looking at 925 millibar temperatures. Okay, like I can do that here, but a very specific tool set to use rather than pivotal weather, which combines a lot of these parameters into one. It makes it a little bit harder to decipher individual parameters, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's looking like the temperatures at 2,500 feet are going to be a little bit too warm right now at this time, at least according to the European AI forecast. Definitely right around there at 5,000 feet, but at around 2,500 feet, it's going to be a little bit too warm. As far as I can see right now. Yeah, surface anomalies are going to be below average at this time, but nothing crazy. It has a lot of the area sub-freezing going out into the middle of the month. Mosky Movies, hello. We need really good snowpack for the Olympics, yes. The Olympics are going to get a little boost to their snowpack the next couple of days, but after that, it becomes very uncertain. Due to snow melt, the seasonal waterfalls around Lake Crescent have been awesome. Yeah, we're going to get the snow, and then we're probably going to melt it off after that. So we're going to get it for a short time, but then we're going to bring these warmer than average temperatures in between 2,500 and 5,000 feet, and it's likely just going to melt everything off again. Ooh, sorry guys, I'm a little tired today for some reason. I haven't even done that much today. I'm just pooped. Both mentally and physically. See what the NBM shows, National Blended Models. Temperatures at this time. Yeah, the National Blended Models has most, if not all, of our regions staying above freezing over the next 10 days. So it's going to be a pretty mild air mass over us. Of course, this is susceptible to change, so let's look at total snowfall over the next 10 days. So it's not picking up on anything for the Puget Sound area. It's picking up on some, possibly the Bellingham area could be getting some snow, but it's not picking up much on the NBM high-res ensemble forecast for the Puget Sound area over the next 10 days. But this model isn't always good for using as a snow predictor. That's where the high-res models sort of eclipse this in terms of credibility. Will bring flood potentially, not quite. River levels will run higher in some areas, like the Skokomish, for example, which has the flood watch. But outside of that, they're not seeing any flood risk for any of the Cascade rivers. That's really about it for the risk of flooding. Because after these next couple systems come in, we're likely going to go bone dry after that. Yeah, I think the flood risk is going to be pretty low outside of the Skokomish River near Potlatch for the rest of the rivers in the area. Let's go see what the European ensemble shows for heights coming up. Go back to the 12Z. See, even the ensemble mean is showing a big ridge over us around the January 14th timeframe. Which, again, this repels active weather. This doesn't attract it like a trough. A ridge repels active weather. This would result in mainly foggy mornings and nights. And even some areas getting, like areas in the valleys where the air is trapped, getting down to below freezing possibly. And then even by the end of this run too, we end up on the east side of that ridge. Like right under the jet stream here. Watching the jet stream, and yeah, we're going to be on the south side of this jet stream for a little bit, which means we're going to be in the ridging pattern. Okay, here's the troughing pattern we're in right now. And then we end up on the west side of this jet stream. Underneath the jet stream for a little bit. Then there's a trough again, this little dip on the north side of the jet stream. And then we cross back to the south side of this jet stream. This would be a strong ridge right here. This area where we have these clockwise rotating winds aloft. This is a strong upper level ridge. Clouds where I live are going in a strange direction. That's the power of wind shear. Depending on which level of the atmosphere you're looking at, the clouds are almost always going to be moving in a different direction from one another. Like if you differentiate low, mid, and high level clouds, they're almost always moving at different directions and magnitudes. It's the wonderful, wonderful property of wind shear. Again, just not a good signal the middle of this month for snowpack. Really warmer than average 5,000 foot temperature anomalies. Only a little bit of relief here by about January 20th, but that's really about it. Drinking your water, good reminder. All right. There we go. RRFS. Within range now. Some of these events. What does it show for wind? Again, nothing super major for this area. And this is the model that's set to replace the NAM this year. So nothing too intense around this area as that front comes through tomorrow around noon to 2 p.m. very likely. Again, it's in here and then it's out of here. Just like that. It does have kind of a longer duration westerly surge, but not a super impactful westerly surge. For some reason, it's showing this area 50-mile-per-hour gusts at like 4 a.m. on Wednesday. It's a little interesting. This is before the next frontal system comes through on Wednesday. So, wonder where the model's getting that solution from. But you see, it goes from 50 to nothing, basically, like that. Might just be some sort of weird anomaly with the model run. They've dropped the winds from Nanaimo Tuesday now a little bit. That's good to hear. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get up early tomorrow to cover this for sure. Tuesday storm's a lot weaker. Yeah, for you up there it is. It's not really that strong in general for really any of us. It's your average cold front coming through, really. That's again nothing to really run home about on this one. Just have to watch this cold front as it comes through, see if it has any heavier showers that come with it. Then we'll be watching Wednesday morning too for the potential for some thunderstorms or some hail showers as well. The convergence zone sometime around midnight on Wednesday of all times. Then we watch these showers, see what happens in a real-time basis after that. Meant Wednesday storm, okay. Yeah, Wednesday storm, the Wednesday storm's not looking too impressive. We're really just watching Wednesday for the potential for some very isolated lowland snow and even some thunderstorms here and there. I'm more so intrigued by the risk of thunder, though. Because the experimental model here is showing some good chances of some lightning producing storms and showers moving into the area Wednesday morning and Wednesday afternoon. So it's just something we'll have to keep our eyes on in real time. Just to see what happens, really, because some of these could even spell waterspout potential too. The conditions are definitely there. We'll have some shear in the area. We'll have the cold air aloft, so we'll have the instability, and we'll have plenty of moisture to work with. We also have the lifting mechanism, the short wave overhead. That's our lifting mechanism. Bellingham top out, highest gusts 10 a.m. due west 45. Well, they're calling for gusts out of the south, not out of the west. So, hey there, Rail Puck. Good evening. So yeah, 10 a.m. tomorrow you're talking about, right? And see, your gusts, your winds are going to be out of the south during that time. Because you're still ahead of the front. Only after the front are they going to shift more out of the southwest direction. And Roland Connor also just got here. Hello, welcome in. Yeah, but in typical fashion, winds are going to start out of the south again, over much of the area. And then once that front moves over, then we shift it to out of the west. If you're along the Strait of Juan de Fuca and the Strait of Georgia, your winds will be either out of the northwest or the west. And some of these westerly winds getting into Bellingham too, but the strongest winds are going to be out of the south later tomorrow morning. It's looking like the time's going to be sometime around 10 a.m. to noon, approximately. Yeah, well, they're going to be out of the southeast for Ladysmith because the winds are going to veer from south up towards out of the southeast as you go up the Strait of Georgia. That's just how it works at the surface level. You know, winds, the farther south you are, the more out of the southwest the winds are, and then they go out of south and then the southeast. The winds are always going to take the point of low resistance to go into the front. And the point of the area of lowest resistance is going to be up through the Strait of Georgia and follow the terrain contours of Vancouver Island and Western BC, which is out of the southeast direction. So yeah, it shows it out of the south here, but it's going to be more so out of the southeast the farther north you are, up in the strait here. And then you see that clear as day wind shift out of the southwest along the coast, out of the what appears to be the west-northwest right behind it. And then out of the west after that. And then we start to introduce the next system on Wednesday. And we're not quite in full range on that yet. Any word on any Arctic air outbreak? Still no good signs of an Arctic air outbreak anytime soon. Knock on wood. The best chance right now is looking like after the ridge begins to break up, going into the later part of this month. But the signal still isn't strong for any big Arctic air outbreak. Again, the threat appears to be marginal for any sort of Arctic air intrusion this month. Vancouver Island snowpack is close to normal. That's great to hear. Yeah, the snowpack in the North Cascades is doing really good. It's the Central and Southern Cascades where we're not doing the best, and the Olympics too. But the North Cascades are doing pretty good. We're just starting to get in range of Wednesday's front. It's not as strong as tomorrow's front, so it's a little hard to see the wind shift on here, but it appears that the front is somewhere in this area at this time, 9 a.m. Yeah, it's showing nowhere near as strong winds on Wednesday as it is tomorrow. And even then, the winds shouldn't even be considered strong tomorrow. Some areas, yeah, like Island County and Western Whatcom County, where the wind advisories are in effect, but other than that, not very much. And I'll show this graphic again for you guys. These are the estimated wind gusts for tomorrow through 4 p.m. And you see it shows about 40 to 45 for Bellingham, only 25 to 30 for Friday Harbor, and around 30 to 40 for Whidbey Island and Camino Island. For the rest of the Puget Sound, they have a wide swath of us in 40 to 45, which I think might be a little too high. Personally, I think 35 to 40 sounds about right. But who knows? I could blunder that forecast tomorrow morning if we get really anything above 40 miles per hour around the general Puget Sound area, which isn't out of the question. I'm just saying that the current hunch right now is that we're only going to cap out around 40 with an isolated gust to 45 here and there. That's my current prediction. Current radar still shows that convergence zone holding on between Mount Vernon and Whidbey Island right now. And some convergence showers down here east of Everett. But the upper level clouds from this next system are coming in right now. And here's our next system. Should be moving in sometime around the noon hour tomorrow. And again, it'll bring heavy mountain snow, lowland rain, and breezy to blustery winds for most of us. Will the foothills chop down those wind gusts for me? As long as you're not right around Mount Baker, then yeah, because the winds are going to be coming out of the south during this time. So, for the most part, the foothills are going to help block these stronger winds from getting to your area. Yeah, Keith said Como is saying wind gust 34, Tacoma 40 in Seattle. That sounds about right to me. That's what the Euro's been showing. And ever since this windstorm bust on Christmas Eve, I'm more inclined to show the Euro than I am the high-res models. Yeah, the Euro has about 35 to 40 for Tacoma and around 35 to 40 for Seattle, too. Really, it's going to be 35 to 40 for much of the area, with some higher gusts, 45 to 50 possible, mainly over the waters. Like Whidbey Island in western Whatcom County, for example, the areas where the wind advisories are currently in effect. And this is what it's showing for wind gusts right now between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. tomorrow. And this is 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. It's looking like wind gusts peak sometime between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. approximately tomorrow. If you give a little bit of a safety on the higher end and the lower end of things, about 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. seems realistic for peak wind gusts tomorrow. Saying 46 wind gusts up here. Yeah, and your area is in that wind advisory where they're calling for wind gusts 45 to 50. So sustained winds 20 to 30 out of the south and wind gusts 45 to 50. But it doesn't look like it'll get much higher than 50. At least it shouldn't get higher than 50 whatsoever, really. All right, folks, it's been a little over 2 hours now. I think we're going to start to wind things down here in just a little bit. I think we got most of what I needed to talk about across to you guys. Can't believe I still haven't done the daily briefings yet. Frustrated at myself about that. Yeah, I just... The motivation to do the daily briefings is just not there at the moment. I've been sleeping a lot too. Been sleeping in. Even though I fall asleep at a decent time, I just sleep in really late right now. You know, I just need to get back to the doctor eventually. This not having insurance thing is a real gamble that I don't want to take anymore. You think they'll close Snoqualmie Pass? Entirely possible if what the models show. If what the models are showing is true, then the Snoqualmie Pass could definitely close sometime between tomorrow afternoon and Thursday afternoon. Right now, the European has a max snow depth of around 4 feet at the pass by the time we get into 1 a.m. Friday. But to be a little more realistic, we'll want to look at total snowfall. He says, I feel you. Yeah, my mental health has been not doing so hot the last few months or so. Yeah, for a lot of you guys that don't know, I've been on antidepressants and a lot of medication for over half of my life. And ever since I quit my full-time job, I've been off of those medications for 5+ months now. And so I've been just kind of figuring out how to portray life without them. But I think the experiment's over and I'm going to have to look into a low-cost or no-cost healthcare option to get those prescriptions back in order. You know, because right now it's frustrating the lack of motivation that I have to really even do what I want to do, and that is predict the weather for you guys and really focus on things too, because I've had such a hard time focusing on trying to get these forecasts out to you guys, and getting everything done in a timely manner is just, it's not impossible, but it's extremely difficult right now. Extremely difficult. Try eucalyptus aromas. I'll have to look into that. Wow, Keith, you've been on medical leave since August. Have you tried Molina? I tried applying for, I think it was Apple Healthcare, I believe. It was the Washington Healthcare Plan Finder, and I got rejected initially. You know, oddly enough, they said I didn't provide enough information to qualify for a healthcare plan, which was a really fascinating call. Yeah, so someone also recommended community health clinic or community health care down here in Pierce County too. So I'm gonna look into that too. Is there anyone on here right now that uses community health care for their primary care provider? how much on average does it cost you per month or per session? Because, the budget's extremely tight right now. I'm not going to lie. It's extremely tight. And I wish I was kidding, but I'm about one major disaster away from literally losing everything. So I'm being really careful. Dr. Eric Berg has good YouTube videos. Noted. I'll look that up. Dr. Eric Berg, have Melina. I don't know if I'm gonna qualify for Melina, honestly. I think like really all that's gonna have to happen is I'm gonna have to go back to work. Like really being full time here on Puget Sound Stormwatch has been a bit of an experiment. And I said it at first. I said it's gonna be about a 2 to 3 month experiment unless we really start to get the ball rolling and I'm able to survive on this full time. That has not been the case. Far from the case, actually. Once again, we had our best month ever realistically last month, but to keep it going several months down the stretch is just right now it's not going to be possible. I'm playing a very dangerous game here, and the truth is I have had some regrets about leaving my full-time job to do this full-time, but it was a gamble that I was willing to take. And one thing's for sure, I'm not going back to that job. Absolutely not. And the way that the management was at that job is just, no, not doing it. I'm gonna look for new opportunities. Best case scenario. Sorry, I'm getting a bit of phlegm in my throat. Hang on. I don't know what's going on with that. Keith says, I have Unity Healthcare. Life is a gamble. My wife, 55, no health insurance because of insane rates. $800 a month in cash away for emergencies. Yeah, that's a really good thing to do. That's really the only reason I was able to take a shot at doing this forecasting full time is just because of how much money I was putting away in my savings account before I moved out of my parents' house. And, I was making, for the last year or so that I was working at my job, I was making around $24 an hour. That was the journeyman rate. The journeyman rate now for what they call all-purpose clerks for Kroger and Albertsons companies is about $26 per hour. So I actually, by definition, I did miss out on a $2 per hour raise had I stayed. So some may say, okay, that's borderline stupid that you dropped out to do this full time when you could have full benefits and peace of mind knowing that you're going to be able to, not go bankrupt doing this. And yeah, I'll be honest, I did have peace of mind financially, but mentally, absolutely not. That job was crippling me mentally. Even though I didn't show it, it was very difficult to work around some aspects, mainly management. And volunteering with the union as well. I was volunteering with UFCW 367, Local 367, that covers, I think it's Pierce, Lewis, Thurston, Pacific, Grace Harbor, and Mason counties here in Washington. The rest is UFCW Local 3000 for food clerks. That is unless you're with the Teamsters. But I was volunteering with UFCW Local 367, and that added to a lot of the mayhem too. Because I was going nose deep into all of these union issues and being a union steward for my store too. That took up a lot of time. That's why you saw me go dormant at times for sometimes days to weeks here on Puget Sound Stormwatch. How about doing security? Agree, the rates are insane. Yeah, the rates are insane. That is the truth. Back before I left Safeway, they were garnishing quite a bit of my rates for insurance purposes. And tax time's coming up here soon too. I'm going to be filing my first ever, since I should have already made more than enough to have to file for business taxes, even as a self-proprietor. So PSSW itself is not an incorporation or an LLC. It's a sole proprietorship just run by me. And so I do potentially have the opportunity for some tax breaks when that time comes up. But I'm just waiting for whenever Facebook sends out the, I think they're going to send me out a, what's the form? Is it a 1040? It's either a 1099 or a 1040. I can't remember. Yeah, stay healthy for as long as you can. Eat right and exercise. Yeah, good tips. I'm working on it right now. I was doing good on the exercising until about Thanksgiving time, and then I just hit a slump and haven't gone back to the gym since. So I'm trying to work on getting a routine set, but right now it's just, it's really scatterbrained inside. So I'm really trying to find a healthy balance, and I will say it's extremely difficult right now. Behind the scenes is extremely difficult. And now with these health concerns really coming up from my mom's side, it's really hard to think about and being genuinely happy doing what I'm loving too. When I have all of those distractions and blockades in the way, But one thing that I'm glad to be doing right now is talking about this to the audience and the public that doesn't know what's going on behind closed doors. Because it's not all fun and games back here. Doing this, yes, this is my dream for sure. This is what I've always wanted to do. And I've said this for the last 5 months now. To get the opportunity to do this even is a massive, massive blessing. And the fact that I get to do this right now at this time and not have to be at work doing a closing shift or anything like that is just something I'm immensely grateful for. Kim says, you deserve sponsors. Yeah, I'm actively looking for sponsors, but I'm having a really hard time getting anyone to reach out. Walk, and walk faster, all you need to do. And Sonia totally understands. Yeah, it's a rough time in the world right now. I will say it's a very, very rough time to be alive in the world. That's not anything to raise any concern, but to raise any concern for my personal well-being. The truth is, I'll be fine. There's no need to worry about me. I will be fine. That's a guarantee. I've had no thoughts of doing any self-harm or anything like that, so you guys don't have to worry about that. I just want to make sure. I'd pay you to teach about weather. Yeah. Then again, I'm not the most credible source of weather information, too. I got to say it right now. I don't have any post-high school degree that says I'm qualified to do the weather. I'm just doing this as a full-time hobby that pays me a bit. Not enough to survive off of, though. I'd be lying to you if I didn't say I've had to pull some money out of savings every month since I quit my job. At least once a month. But after December's performance, pardon me, January going into February, maybe the first month, knock on wood, where I don't have to do that. But again, January right now is not looking super active. So, back to weather will help your mood. Yeah, that's the truth. I think we're spiraling a little too far off topic here, but we're going to start to wind things down anyway. So it's a perfect little segue into the ending of this segment. But yeah, now that you guys heard a little personal spiel, that's just kind of what's going on behind the scenes. But once again, don't worry about me. Everything will be fine. Just know that I will let you guys know personally in case something comes up where I have to step away, whether that be with family health concerns or hopping back into the job market. But I'm going to keep my options open right now. Again, I'd like to keep doing this for as long as possible, but right now it's not going to be sustainable going into the new year, especially with my rent going up and a few other utilities being added on. You know, we're in dangerous territory here. Now back to our regular weather briefing, like Keith said. And action. But yeah, folks, that's going to just about wrap up our coverage for tonight. Let's go see what the 2Z HER is showing right now. Show anything different, because we're within hourly refresh range of the gusts tomorrow now. We can compare the 1Z to the 2Z. And see, it has a little bit of an uptick for Seattle, but a little bit of a downtick for Tacoma. And Everett's also just a slight bit of an uptick. But then again, you can shave 5 miles per hour off of this forecast and still have it be relatively accurate. Kim says, I really hope you can always do what you love. Yeah, but sometimes life just gets in the way. That's the unfortunate truth, but it is what it is. You know, it is what it is, and you just have to power through it. That's what I'm gonna have to do. I'm gonna probably begin the job search here in the next month or so. Yeah, so anyways, done talking about the jobs, back to the weather, and then we're gonna wind down for tonight. So for those of you who didn't leave the stream for me getting all personal and all of that, thank you, but I completely understand if you left. A lot of people don't want to hear that. They just come for the weather. And that's fine. I completely understand that. So yeah, we're an hourly refresh range on the HER, but I think the HER's overdoing the wind a bit. At least for the Seattle area, I think it's going to probably cap off around 45 at most, mainly over the water, but I don't see much of the stronger winds making its way eastward. Unless you're up in Bellingham. Bellingham, up here on the recent 2Z HER, is showing around 45 to 47 miles per hour, based on which part of Bellingham you're in. Hard to talk on the fly for 2 hours. You do well. Thank you for the kind words. The wind is like a yo-yo. Yes, like you said, it is like a yo-yo. Whew, boy. Yeah, it's perfect time to wind down. I'm gonna be up early tomorrow, beginning this wind forecast, and depending on what I see, if the winds are higher than predicted down here in the Sound, then we'll probably go live to cover that. But no guarantees on that. So you likely will not receive a warning before we go live, if we do go live. But very likely it's not going to happen. Most likely the winds are going to stay the highest over, again, Whidbey Island and western Whatcom County, where the wind advisories are. There's an outside chance this wind advisory gets expanded into western Skagit County, maybe northwestern Snohomish County, like we normally see during these wind events up there. Found it kind of odd how they only put Island County and Whatcom County into wind advisory, but not San Juan or Skagit. That was a little bit of an interesting choice there. Keith says, going to be doing some reading and writing for his nightly blog. Awesome, Keith. Glad to hear that. Glad to hear you're taking full advantage of that Meteorology 101 certificate. Yeah, so the HER showing peak winds now around 10 a.m., which is a bit earlier than what the NAM and the RRFS are showing. So the range is probably, again, going to be sometime around 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. tomorrow for strongest winds. So we'll just be watching those details closely as the morning time kicks in. Either way, should be seeing widespread rain showers by the time the sun comes up tomorrow, with rain likely turning to heavy for most of us by the time that front comes through earlier on tomorrow afternoon or later in the morning time. But yeah, folks, I think that's going to about do it for our coverage today. Again, I have the links pinned So in case you guys want to consider a one-time donation in the form of a coffee, this would be the best way to do it. We have a little counter in the bottom right as well too. Whenever someone donates, it'll play a cool little animation that'll show your name as well, in case you guys want to be shouted out on this stream or the next one. And that is the best way for one-time donations if you feel like it. No problem, no pressure, all good. Rain light to moderate, like Keith says. Have a great night, everyone. Like Keith says, have a great night, Keith. Great night, Sonia. Everyone else that's in the stream, thank you for tuning in. Have a great night. See you around for the next stream. If we don't stream tomorrow, we'll probably have a stream later on this week. I like to do a stream twice a week and get in the habit of that, but the days are probably going to be variable. So again, if you guys are one of the three, either a subscriber on Facebook, a member on YouTube, or a patron on Patreon, I'll give you guys early live stream updates depending on the situation. If it's a planned live stream, you guys should be getting a live stream update. Like, for example, that's what I did today. I gave you guys a live stream update about an hour and a half, and there's a new tip. So thank you so much, Liesel Mortara, for your donation. Received a total of 3 coffees. Again, thank you so much for your generosity. Yeah, guys, have a great night. Thanks for listening to my personal little spiel. And let's see what happens tomorrow and on Wednesday. Wednesday, again, chance of some thunderstorms. Also a chance of some low-level mixing or even some snow with convergence zone up to the north. Mainly Everett northward. Also a slight chance down here Tacoma too, but it's very, very marginal. The low chance, but it's not non-zero. So the heads up. I'll be posting an update. Almost certainly posting an update on that tomorrow morning as well. But I'm going to begin to wind down for tonight, so I don't think I'm going to post an update tonight. But tomorrow morning for sure. I'm going to plan to get up pretty early to put my briefing out. My written up briefing, my blog. Maybe I will do a video briefing. At the very least, maybe I'll put out a short tomorrow. Yeah, thank you, Longtail Liesel, for that. Really appreciate the generosity. Yeah, just have some leftover convergence zone showers tonight. Some high clouds moving in ahead of that next frontal system. Already seeing some rain showing up here on the east side of Vancouver Island, too. Here it comes, folks. Here it comes again. Nothing out of the ordinary this time around. It's just going to be a moderate frontal system at best. But yeah, thank you guys so much. I think that's going to wrap it up. Anthony here, Puget Sound Stormwatch, saying have a great night. See you guys for the next live stream, whenever that may be. If you guys want the notification a couple hours early, be sure to consider becoming a subscriber on Facebook or a member on YouTube. And thank you to all of you guys who have gifted memberships over the last month. But a lot of those are going to be expiring soon. So if you want to continue being a member here on YouTube, consider renewal. Yeah, consider a renewal. But at the same time, no pressure, completely understood. Just trying to get the ball rolling on a lot of these things, but kind of plagued by personal distractions right now. So just bear with me, folks. Again, thank you guys for everything. Yeah, of course. Thanks for looking into Snoqualmie. Absolutely. Yeah, glad to be here to help you guys. It may not be the greatest weather information, most accurate weather information, but it's just my personal twist to everything. So, and yeah, Chad is one of them. He says, thank you, thank you. All right, folks. Have a great night all. See you guys in the morning on Facebook and Patreon if you guys follow along. Again, on Patreon too, you guys can become a patron on Patreon. I have a free blog as well as a paid one. You can try out the paid one for 7 days free if you'd like. If you don't like what you see, you're more than welcome to cancel it before it charges you.